giving players that chance sooner? Like, why does that shift happen?
No, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe it's just the talent level, and guys are a little bit more prepared to come in and play right away. Some of it might be somewhat salary cap related. If you have good players on cheap contracts, it's just like the NFL. You got a quarterback on a rookie deal, right? You can build your team better. So maybe a combination of those two things: a really good cheap talent, and players being a little bit more prepared.
I was talking to Revo about this earlier today. He mentioned a lot of players have a lot more swagger coming into the league than they did. Like when he was able to come into the league, and some of the veterans I've talked to around the league have mentioned that too. They sort of see these guys with a confidence that they didn't have when they were like starting out. What was it like for you when you first came in the league?
Yeah, I mean, the league was just different. I think some of the stuff that guys try now, you couldn't do back then. It was much more physical. The league's done a good job of kind of eliminating some of the hooking and holding, the physicality, some of the blindside hits. Some of the stuff. If you tried to toe drag someone and cut to the middle, you're going to get your head taken off. Or you tried to Michigan, someone's going to slash you and break your arm. It was just a little different brand of hockey. Where now I think it's kind of being embraced, and these kids know they're good. They know they can play with the best players, and it's credit to them to have that kind of confidence.
Is there struggles that come with that confidence, though?
Yeah, I think it can be a situation where, maybe you don't respect the game enough and play with enough details when it's all skill based, and it's a tough league and tough game. If you don't play the right way, then it's tough to have success, and I think sometimes guys have to learn that the hard way.
And then right now in this market, you're seeing so much attention, here and across the league, for what you're doing right here. What do you think that means for the future of hockey here, and just in general as a someone who loves the game and sees new fans kind of getting drawn into it by what we're watching on the ice?
Yeah, I think it's great for the game. It's a good product out there for people to watch. It's fast and there's a lot of skill, and I think people around here are excited to have kind of some of the young building blocks we have here that they can kind of connect with and maybe relate to a little bit. And I think it's just great for the game of hockey that there's so many kind of young players that are doing their thing, but at the same time, we still have, Sid and Ovi and those guys around that kind of connect the two groups. So it's a pretty special time in the league.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Like when you look at the year as a whole, we talked to Ryan about this too. Just how can you break it up? Was it a tough start on the hot stretch, win one, lose one? How do you feel this team has grown in each segment this year?
I just think that the team is just gotten better, and we had a lot of turnover once again. So I think it took a little bit of time for the guys to gel. The guys that were here, they're entering their second year with Warsaw, so I think they knew what to expect system-wise, but it just took some time for guys to kind of find their role, find where they fit in, and there was a lot of responsibility on young players as well, whether it's Askey, Mac and Eki and Graffer, even Chucky and Deli when they kind of grew into their roles, and that's a difficult thing to come in to this league and be able to be counted on to produce and play your game every single day, and then you throw in the condensed schedule where you're playing every other night and you're playing back to back and with travel and things like that. It's a difficult time for the players, and we're asking a lot of the players, and so it probably took a little bit of time for the group to mesh and come together, but to their credit, they've done that, and they're playing for each other.
I know you referenced the deadline out there with Kiefer too. You built the defense. There's only two guys that are signed past next season. Obviously, there's a couple RFAs in Iorio and Move, but just how do you approach the deadline, especially here on the blue line?
Yeah, like I kind of said out there, I'm not going to do anything that's short-sighted. It's all about continuing to grow and build the group, and it might not be the most glamorous group of defensemen, but they've played well, they've played hard. They've produced. I think Klinger's produced, and Orley's produced, and we're starting to get a little bit from Sam, and Vinny Desharnais's been great on the PK, and Iorio, when he got a chance to play, was really good, helping us get pucks out of our end. So, and then you have Mario back there blocking shots and playing his tail off every night. So, like I said, it's not a group that probably gets talked about a lot, but they're doing their job out there and helping us win hockey games.
Is there some tough conversations to have with maybe some of those veterans? Obviously, you guys are in that playoff spot right now, but just balancing, selling, buying, and making the right moves to continue on that plan. Is there some tough conversations to have either with players or the management group here?
Yeah, I mean, this time of year, there's always tough conversations where you got to figure out what road to go down and what's best for the organization, short term, medium term, and long term. So these are not easy times for players or management. When you're doing well and playing well, then you got the other side of it where you're maybe moving players that have been a big part of things, and even when you're not playing well, it's you're taking someone like Blackie out of your team or Granny out of your team, and those aren't easy conversations, and the hurdles of the world, those things are difficult. So it's just a difficult time of year for everyone, and but we'll try and make the best decisions we can for us.
Those 5 defensemen, I'm trying to name them all, your UFAs, Mario, Desharnais, Liljegren, 2 more.
Klingberg.
Klingberg, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you spoken with any of their representation about extensions, or what's your position toward those defensemen on that?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes like, I think you guys probably have an idea from me over the years. I'm not really going to get into this stuff with you guys. I mean, I know it's your job to ask questions about what's going on with guys' contracts and what we're doing with guys, but it's just something I'll keep between myself and the players, and we'll deal with it internally.
I guess maybe then a different way I would rephrase it is that of those guys, I mean, can you see 1 or 2 of them, being with you guys next year, or just any sense of that?
Yeah, no, there's a possibility. It's guys could be back for sure.
Our team's calling you and asking about their availability, and you're kind of in a middle where you're trying to maybe make the playoffs, but also, like you said, you got to look at the big picture here. Are you taking calls on those guys, and would it be tough to replace them if you had to, if a deal came along?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a balancing act, and it's the time of year where teams are definitely kind of kicking tires and seeing what's out there, what's possibly available. So, yeah, teams have called on guys, and whenever someone calls, I listen. Doesn't matter who the player is. I'll always listen to what they have to say. But it's it's kind of a delicate balance right now.
What made?
There's a report, came out that you'd already talked to, Kiefer's camp and went over some figures that, maybe you guys weren't quite on the same page in terms of what the next contract's going to look like there. Is that fair to say that maybe you guys are not quite there yet in terms of, protecting an extension here?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what I just told Shang, I don't believe in negotiating the media and telling the media what's going on and what the numbers are and what the term is and what it looks like. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. We've had some, post trade. We had a quick conversation, but we were just more focused on how excited we were to add Kefir to the group, and I think he's going to love it here. He's excited. We're excited to have him, and we think it's a great fit. So hopefully at some point we'll be able to work something out.
I guess something people are wondering about right now is if you get to a point before the deadline and you're still not quite where you want to be in terms of an extension, is there a possibility of flipping Kiefer?
I mean, I'm always like I said, if someone calls out, maybe I'll listen and see what they have to say or what they want to make an offer. But his acquisition was a targeted acquisition. He's what this team needs as far as someone who plays with some sandpaper, some grit, some speed, some physicality. He kind of fits the identity of what we want to be as a team. So, it's someone we went after with the idea of him not being a rental, but it's sports, and Kiefer's someone who is a late bloomer who's played a lot of years in the minors and worked his way up and grinded his way up. So, if it's a chance, maybe it's his only chance to get a payday. So, I understand that as being a player, he's got a, I think he's got a newlywed, and I think his wife's pregnant. So, people have to do what they have to do with their life and chance to, make as much money as they can, which I never begrudge a player to, while you're playing, make as much money as you can. So I think we'll be able to work something out, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
Is there any concern on your part that, he's a hard-nosed player. He put a lot of, wear and tear maybe on that body as far as like 900 hits in the last 3 years or something ridiculous like that. Any concern on your part that, if you do sign him to a long-term contract, what he's going to be like in 4 or 5 years kind of thing?
Not really. I think he plays hard, but I think he takes really good care of himself. But when you play physical, there's always the chance that, you get hurt or you break down a little bit. But I think how seriously he takes his profession and how he takes care of himself and trains and everything, that we're confident he'll be fine and he'll age well. He skates well, and plays hard. So it's not something we're overly concerned about.
Why was now maybe the right time to do 2 second-round picks, right? I mean, you've done a pretty good job last few years accumulating picks and using them as either trade value or to pick players. Why was maybe now the time to give 2 picks for a player?
Yeah, I mean, the picks are something the markets kind of spoke a little bit with Marchman and Chenikov deals, what it would take to get a player like Kiefer. So for us, it's a little bit getting out ahead of free agency. He's someone who would have been high in our list if he had made it to free agency. And, we've made a lot of picks the last couple of years. We got a lot of prospects. We still have a lot of picks this year. So, we've kind of felt like we'd be okay to move a little bit of draft capital to get a player that we think can help us not only now but into the future as well.
Is there still some hesitation to maybe give up a first-round pick if a big fish does come out there? If there's maybe, there's Panarin and the Rangers, the whole situation, but you never know what's out there. Is there still more of a, we want to keep our first-rounders right now?
I don't see us moving a first rounder for a rental type player. No.
Speaking of the target acquisition idea, player like Kefir and just the attributes that he brings, were those in particular attributes that you thought this team needed right now, or is it more that just this player came up and the player that you guys really like came available? Yeah,
it's not something that's, he fits right now, but it's just something I think, like I said, from day one when I got this job, he's the type of player I was speaking about that we need to have in here to be hard to play against. And so he kind of just fits the identity. It's similar when we got Chucky last year at the deadline, and people were kind of wondering why we would, trade an established winger like Zetz who had scored for us. But you have to build a team. It takes all different types of parts and all different parts of character, not kind of just fantasy football, right, where you're just accumulating stats. You need guys who can be physical, who can skate, who can be hard to play against, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what wins in the playoffs, and that's the goal for us, to get into the playoffs and at the end of the day win the whole thing. And you need players like Kiefer, players like Chucky. You need those style of players to help supplement your group. We got a lot of skill with Mac and Will and Eki and Toph and guys like this, so we just got to bring the right, keep supplementing and hopefully bring the right type of high character, high compete, hard to play against players, and keep surrounding them with them.
On defense, what are you looking for in terms of target, like just attributes you're looking for in particular to improve your defense?
Like I said, I think the D's done a good job this year. So I think everyone's looking for D that can defend hard and defend the rush, be hard around the net. I think if you talk to every team in the league, I think that's what they're looking for, because you got to defend, you got to be hard around your net, and then you got to be able to exit your zone. So those are things we're looking at. That's probably no different than anyone else.
So Mike, when you look around the league, a lot of teams are trying to rebuild, going through the process, some with some success, some with not so much success. Well, how do you differentiate what you're doing here? Because obviously, clearly, last year and a half, there has been quite a bit of success here.
Yeah, I really try not to look at or think about what other teams are going or how they're, builds or things are going. I think for us, it's we just kind of believed in the draft and develop mode and model. We were obviously fortunate enough to get Mac, and that's kind of pushed things forward for us. But Smitty, another really good player that we were fortunate to get, and then Sam. So I got to give a lot of credit to our amateur scouts. They've done a really good job identifying guys and helping us hopefully pick the right ones. And then our pro guys of kind of adding the Toasts and the Winnies and guys like that, even back to Granny when here. It really helped kind of our group grow, and in our leadership group, I think it's good for young guys to see Mario compete every day. Guys that have won like Goody. Revo brings a little bit of swagger to the group. It's just a group, I think, that we just try to do our best to get the right people, and for me, that's been the biggest thing is trying to get the right people and the right person here, people who care, they compete, they work, they're honest, guys that are trying to play and do the right things on and off the ice. For me, that was a big thing, and that's how it started. And so far we've been able to add a lot of those type of guys to help our group. But some of it's the randomness or the luck of the lottery, right? To get someone like Mac and kind of stick him in the middle, definitely helps kind of give you a little clearer picture of what you need to do.
And then, you have your hand on the throttle, you're gauging when to press forward, how much to press forward. What are some of the variables in your mind when you're making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I got to try and be honest with myself and honest with what I'm seeing and evaluating every day is with the team is how they're doing, how they're growing, how they're getting along. But, for me, like the goal isn't just to, sneak into the playoffs. The goal is to win the Stanley Cup here. So, when we get to a point where I feel like we have a group that can do that and can go on a long playoff run and try and compete for the Cup, then, that's probably when you guys see it kind of fast forwarded a little bit.
A lot of people read these last two moves, signing Venberg and now Kiefer, as sort of a big step forward, that you are starting to commit a little bit more. Is that how you're thinking, looking at it?
I mean, I just think they're both good fits. To have the possibility for the next, 3 or 4 years to have Mac, Meese, and Winnie down the middle, and Chucky down the middle, it's, 4 really good centers. And then even, Deli who can play the middle. So, as you guys read all the the stuff that's out there about who's looking for what, but everyone's looking for centers. And we're fortunate enough, we think, to have some pretty good center depth. So, I already talked about what Kiefer brings. So, it's just about adding the right people and the right parts to the group and trying to supplement them, and so we can just kind of keep kind of inching along.